long story short, the governor has a scheme to give private land to her corporate friends to build a pipeline along with $600 million in tax breaks for these folks over the next several years.
That's just
so getting to the point of all this. So you would think,
what are the Dems going to do? What, pray tell, is the party of regular working people going to do to prevent this?
Well, that's exactly my question. I mean, I fancy myself a dirt road Democrat. If you go to my my Twitter at CJ for Iowa, you know, we're very grassroots. We're rural. We're proud of it, and so you would think, you know, there are so few opportunities for rural Democrats to connect with the people we live around and that we are neighbors with and friends with. And that doesn't mean that these folks are bad people. It just means that there's a cultural disconnect that we need to figure out how to you know, cross and bridge. And this is an issue that's a slam dunk. People on both sides of the political spectrum, all sides of the political spectrum, should be right hand in hand in lockstep on this. And it's one of those issues that we can come at from the perspective of, you know, private property ownership, and Republicans support this issue. They support stopping the pipelines being, you know, stealing their private land for corporate profit. And so my good friend Emma Schmidt, who is a you know, environmental activist, also a rural Democrat, lives a county over from me, actually crafted a resolution by the Iowa Democratic Party, and it would have, if passed by the State Central Committee, of which we are both a part, it would have essentially made the official position of the Iowa Democratic Party, hey, by the way, this is in our platform. We oppose the building of this pipeline for where we're stealing we're stealing private property and giving it to corporations, and where, you know, we're giving away hundreds of millions of dollars of tax revenue to billionaires and millionaires, and we are also taking an enormous toll on the environment altogether. So the way that this carbon capture works, basically, if the pipeline leaks, it's an asphyxiant. So it will asphyxiate anyone within about a 4.5 mile radius if it leaks. Now, these pipelines, per federal regulations, are allowed to be built within 50 feet of a school, of a church, a daycare center, your house. And so, anyway, this isn't just your typical not in my backyard thing. This is like, if it's in my backyard, I'm going to die. And so we brought this to the Iowa Democratic Party, and it was killed on a procedural motion by some folks who essentially they don't look up this whole damn thing. And they said, you know, well, we're for the jobs the pipeline is going to bring. And, you know, as we saw in that, we know how that movie ends. We just saw it, right? So
sounds like I was going to say, it sounds like Don't Look Up.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always that's always the argument that they give is about job creation. But there are so many other things that are such collateral damage with these pipelines. The missing Indigenous women situation is massive. And I wanted to ask you, so when we're talking about this, and we could be all not in my backyard, but let's be real. Whose backyards are these in? Where are these going? Like, this is not going to go through like wealthy areas. This isn't going to cross over like wealthy CAFO owner estate homes and whatever, right? Like, that's not how this works. And so what is it like there? Because I know in South Dakota, it's hugely an Indigenous problem that they have on Indigenous property. But what's the demographic really where this is going?
So in Iowa, it's largely, you know, rural. It is largely white. However, the average area median income is $44,000 for a household of four. I mean, I'm sorry, like, nobody that has $44,000 to feed a family of four has a lobbyist working for them, and certainly none of them are operating the governor on Fox News as a ventriloquist dummy. So it's just really frustrating that, you know, the folks who have the most to lose are always the ones that have the least influence and the least impact in our government. And so essentially what we got to was this resolution. It was defeated on procedural grounds by some folks who, number one, they said that it was, you know, it's not a settled issue because there are going to be union jobs that come from it. And I will tell you, never, ever has the environmental section of the party, that the folks who care about climate, never ever have we fought against the union workers' rights to bargain, to organize, to have collective bargaining rights. Now, we're supposed to just roll over every time there's a potential to have a 6-month gig that's going to, absolutely destroy the environment, and then they all get to go back home to the big cities and leave us all out here alone. So, and that's not to say that there's no place for labor or what have you. It's just, I really would like to see labor and the environmental folks on the same side of this issue, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same side, and the more that we're bickering and fighting with each other, the more that the Republicans are winning and the pipeline's struggling out.
That's what they're counting on. They want that fight, because because the reality is we're on the same side. Like the people that like us that are not in charge, we're all on the same team. And so they do like to sort of intimate that, oh, well, if you're not supporting this, then you're anti-labor, which is ludicrous, because there's a million other ways they could be supporting labor and they're not doing it. If they care so much about labor, why aren't they passing the PRO Act? So like there's so many things that they just use as bait to create friction where there doesn't need to be any friction.
Absolutely. And, and then, the insane thing about this entire ordeal is, Emma, the woman who actually wrote the resolution, initially went viral because, in a tweet thread, because she tweeted about how the Iowa Democratic Party was ignoring this issue. That's what prompted the Iowa Democratic Party State Central Committee to look at it in the first place. And actually, Jamie Harrison, the chairman of the DNC, sent a message to Ross Wilburn, who is the chairman of the Iowa Democratic Party, and said, hey, you guys should look into this, because it's it's traction, and it's getting traction, and it's a real issue. And like him or not, Jamie Harrison's a real guy. He understands the issues better than probably any of us. And, just seeing that it got DNC attention even, and it still couldn't break through the logjam of folks who just would rather go on to get along.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.